Hello.
Hello.
Evening time. I usually communicate with prisoners of war. Today we have an unexpected event. There really is a guest here, let's put it this way. This is a pilot who chose the side of good and flew to us in a combat vehicle. Introduce yourself.
My name is Kuzmanov Maxim Germanovich. I was born on June 19, 1995 in the Primorsky territory, the city of Arsnev.
What date is today?
Today is the 24th. August, Independence Day.
Independence Day. Have you been here on this street before?
Yes, I was here, walked, drove by, it was very beautiful. I liked it very much.
For the audience, please tell us when you took this step and essentially came to us.
I arrived on August 9th.
9th of August. For the second year in a row, we hold a parade on our main street in the country Kreshchatyk. We show this equipment, this damaged enemy equipment. Your army. Your former army. Do you think this technique? Will this technique defeat us? Let's start with this.
No, this will not happen.
Why? This is the logical next question.
This particular technique, because in general, I believe, it is no longer suitable for use.
Yes, this equipment was hit.
But if we consider all the equipment as a whole, then I think not. This, of course, is already obvious, the whole world knows about it, but still, what is actually happening is not completely clear.
I'll probably ask an unexpected question. What went wrong?
Are you talking about me?
No, in the Russian army.
Well, people began to understand and realize, probably, what was actually starting to happen. So much time has passed. There were no successes at the front, with rare exceptions. And not only this, but also a moral and psychological state.
Describe it.
It's weak. Depressed.
Worse than it was at the beginning?
Very different. Because 90% probably don't know what they're doing. They don't understand anything. They are there to perform some tasks, if you take any branch of the armed forces at all. They perform some tasks, but as such they do not bring any benefit to the motherland or anything else. They have one goal, they pursue only their own goals, how to make money. Well, and various benefits from the state, that's all. This is the main reason why they are at the front. Because there are so many problems in the country that conditions have been created that people simply have nowhere to go. The Ministry of Defense creates conditions where there are supposedly high salaries and benefits for veterans. When people earn up to 30,000 a month, and then at one moment they are offered to sign a contract where their salary is about 200,000.
Yes.
People are just starting to understand, well, are people returning from there? They're coming back, well, maybe we'll get lucky. And then they conclude, in general, a contract.
This is what we basically prove in almost every interview, that the goals are unclear.
Yes.
The global goals of this war are unclear, and such conditions have been created for people that, in fact, due to poverty, they are forced to join the army.
Yes.
What was it like at the beginning of the war?
It was completely unclear what was happening. No one understood anything. Many thought that all this would happen quickly there, as with Crimea. If you expect the same. This was very unexpected for everyone. Unexpectedly for the whole world.
The 24th of February, tell us about this day.
I was very far away that day. I was not involved in combat at that time. Well, for me it was all scary. When I saw the news, when everyone was gathered, I was actually in the Amur region at that time on secondment.
Yes.
In the Amur region, a branch of the Baikal-Amur main line is being built. At that moment I was acting as chief of aviation there. This is a big name. I was a simple dispatcher and applied for a helicopter flight that took the general to places. That is, he checked the work done. And when all this happened, we were all gathered. They began to tell us that a special military operation had been announced with specific goals: denazification and demilitarization of Ukraine.
What did the officers say?
Nobody understood what this meant. No one. And in connection with this, roughly speaking, an order came that practically everyone, almost everyone without exception, was given explanations, classes, conversations, and the like, so that people understand what these words are.
What did they explain?
What? Demilitarization, supposedly. That is, it was necessary to enter this country and neutralize it.
Yes.
Denazification is supposedly the expulsion of Nazis and other fascists from the territory of Ukraine. That's it, in 3 words.
Regarding the first point, demilitarization, judging by the fact that this is the second time we are holding a parade of your broken equipment. Your army failed. The amount of equipment we received. This will soon allow us to surpass you in technical equipment. Have you been to Ukraine before?
I have not been to Ukraine.
How did they explain to you then that there were Nazis here? Was there a meeting?
Of course, they sat us in front of the TV and began to explain to us that this was happening, roughly speaking, under supervision so that everyone would watch. If you are distracted, they will say to you, "Why aren't you looking? You should be looking." We were forced to watch speeches by various officials, from the president to, roughly speaking, the Minister of Defense. That is, all high-ranking officials holding high positions in the Kremlin. They worked with us. They made videos with these people, and they simply explained what, why and when it all happened. That there really are some Nazis, fascists, and so on, and so on.
I can say that more than one officer has never told us before that such spectacular organizational events as ideological indoctrination were carried out.
Of course it's propaganda, but how does it work differently? It is taken from the media, from the internet, from open sources, with the big exception, of course, from television too. People watch the news. All this is then introduced into people's consciousness. People absorb everything.
What did the officers say? Now, taking the number of 100 people, how were people's opinions divided?
So what I want to say about this is that many people were afraid to specifically express their opinions to people. If you say something on your own behalf, yes, not something that someone suggested to you, but you came up with it yourself, said it yourself, then they immediately tell you, "What, you don't support this?" The president told everything, which means everything is correct, that is, they are starting to convince people. You can't have your own opinion. People said whatever they wanted, but, naturally, no one expressed their opinion. Of course, everyone said, "Yes, everything is correct, everything is as it should be." They were afraid to tell the truth. It's my opinion.
Well, it is clear. That is, am I correct in concluding that in public everyone was supportive, but in reality their everything was completely different?
Yes.
Why pilot?
Dynasty. Grandfather is an honored pilot of Russia.
Honored pilot of Russia?
Yeah, he flew 19 kinds of airplanes. He flew everything that couldn't be flown.
Is he a test pilot?
Well, he also seemed to take part in test flights. Well, in fact, he is just an ardent aviation fan who, back in school, set himself the goal of becoming a pilot and is ready to do anything for this. And he succeeded.
Was it he who instilled an interest in aviation?
Yes, from the age of 5, he took me with him everywhere. On business trips, I went everywhere with him. I sat on his lap at the helm.
Yes? This is cool.
In the 9th grade I was already flying.
Which?
Yak 18T. An aerobatic plane, already at school when I was studying.
Where did you study?
I studied at Sizran Higher Military Aviation School of Pilots in the Samara region.
Who are they preparing?
It's the helicopter pilots.
Why did Grandpa fly an airplane and you chose a helicopter?
Well, because one day when Grandpa drank a little, my fate was being decided, and I thought where better to go, because there is still a civilian flight school in Ulyanovsk.
Yes.
Well, there is still a flight school in Krasnodar, but he just hit his fist and said, Sizron, helicopters.
Yeah.
Sizron, helicopters. Because helicopter technology is now in demand all over the world. Helicopter pilots are needed everywhere you go.
How are you? How did you mature to the point where you need to change something so radically?
I was interested in understanding everything that was happening, from A to Z. I started leafing through textbooks, started watching bloggers, and started looking at various public pages on the internet. Every day I learned something new. I was wondering what was really going on. Why did two such close people suddenly start a confrontation? What happened? So, literally in 6 months I learned all this, read it, I was very interested, I understood.
What exactly?
I had a puzzle, I realized what was going on.
What's happening? Perhaps this will be the first person to say that he knows the whole truth and is interested in politics. What did you understand?
In general, I understood whose side is essentially good now and whose side is the truth. Because if, for example, we talk about Crimea and think, who does it belong to? If, for example, we delve deeper into history, whose Crimea is this? Turkish, Greek, and so on, but there is a certain agreement that the country signed, the Budapest Memorandum. Yes, that is, according to the law, the world recognized that Crimea belongs to Ukraine. Putin, the president, he also spoke about this more than once. If we go to YouTube now, there is an interview with him where he specifically said that he confirms this. The fact that Ukraine is an independent country, in exchange for something, of course, yes, for weapons. And at such a relatively not very good moment, when it was clear that the country had some problems, the Russians simply came and annexed Crimea. They grabbed a piece of the country. And when I also watched the interview, well, it was unexpected, that is, no one thought that they would take it from the rear like that, come and take it away. This also suggests the thought, why don't they like Russians? Why did the Russians act so brazenly? They came to a foreign country and took a part of the territory. For example, you have a 4-room apartment, a man came to you and said, this is my room now, and he had the nerve to take it for himself.
Yes.
This also gave me an idea, and after that the main hostilities also began in the Donbass, when troops were sent there. And when I also read why Donbass was bombed there for 8 years. Who the hell was being bombed? Well, they can't just strike civilians. Yes, it is clear. They went there, why did they go there? If they had not come there, these military operations would not have taken place at all. I think so.
The answer regarding Donbass is very simple. Why was there nothing until 2014, and then everything started? Well, because the troops came.
Because the troops came in, and that's what I'm talking about. The troops arrived and began occupying actions against the country, and it is clear who the shells fell on. They say that they shot at civilians, this is not true. Because they came and started downloading their rights, they weren't invited. Well, it wasn't clear to me.
Yeah.
Then I understood.
Have you expressed your thoughts to your colleagues?
Yes, I expressed my point of view, I said that this was wrong. I said this, if this is correct, then prove it to me, convince me, give facts, arguments, why should I believe in it? No one could answer me clearly, not one. You see, no one could answer me. It just has to be done, it's a political issue, we have to carry out the order. What if this order is criminal in nature? Relatively speaking, I was transporting cargo, but today I was transporting, say, a rocket, and this rocket then. The plane fired a missile, roughly speaking, this missile killed people. Me too.
Responsible.
I am responsible.
Absolutely right. I always give the following example. Is the cook to blame? Now we are talking about the cooks who serve the soldiers, and these soldiers load the grads? He is to blame, that is, there is only one chain of executors. Have you been threatened for your point of view?
Yes.
How was it and what happened?
They told me, if you continue, you will simply be sent to prison.
Who said this?
Well, relatively speaking, my guys, my work colleagues told me so.
Did the commander conduct conversations?
The commander didn't. But the conversation was conducted, relatively speaking, by his deputy.
It's clear.
Personnel who?
What did they say?
They said that. Stop saying all this, we are doing everything right, you are very wrong. But again, to the question, explain to me what benefit I bring, nobody could answer me. You just need to follow orders, like in the Soviet army.
Can a pilot resign?
It is also very problematic with threats. So much so that later you will simply be sent to the infantry. It's better to actually fly, yes, than just join the infantry and die there.
So does such a formulation really exist?
Yes.
That is, they cannot break the contract. Due to health reasons, they will not be released either.
Some guys were written off due to health reasons. Then when they woke up, they were told, let's go through everything again, they will give you all the stamps.
Can we conclude that there are not enough pilots if the command is returning decommissioned pilots?
Well, there are enough pilots.
Enough.
Enough. But there aren't enough people who. Those who are most ready for combat. That is, both morally and psychologically, and the level of training, the amount of training. All these accompanying factors are either not present at all, or only a few have them.
Have you met any airplane pilots?
Yes.
What they're saying?
I talked to guys my age. The conversation developed like this, guys. What are you all doing? Do you even understand? Do you understand your role in this matter? They say, well, we have such an order, and we are just flying for show. We have 3 flights a day. We boarded the planes, fired the missiles, it doesn't matter to us where they hit. We returned, installed new missiles, and so on 3 times. We completed the combat mission. Now no one cares about the consequences.
As far as I understand, more planes were shot down than helicopters.
Yes, maybe I haven't done the analysis myself, but I think so too.
You are a pilot, and in any case, I have to ask you a question. What went wrong with aviation? Why is there no dominance in the skies? Excellence, how should I say it?
Probably dominance.
Yes.
Superiority is a NATO term. Domination is already a directly Russian term.
What's the matter?
Well, right now, at the moment, the Russian side still has some dominance in the sense that they have numbers, they have a lot of planes, they have a lot of pilots. It is clear that pilots do not think with their own heads. So all this is instilled in them, like, you're great, you're doing everything right. They just fly around and launch rockets.
But they do not fly over the territory.
They don't fly.
Where is the dominance? If they flew like in Syria, then one could say so. Why don't they fly above us?
Well, of course they're afraid of getting hit.
Yes, exactly.
But, again, I'm talking about this only because there are a lot of planes and pilots there. That's why I say the other side has some slight dominance. And this dominance is only because Russia has a lot of equipment and a lot of young, inexperienced pilots.
The war rejuvenated the composition, right?
Yes, war is a matter for young people.
No. At first colonels and lieutenant colonels flew, but now, as far as I understand, there are practically no old pilots. Youth flies.
Yes.
This means that we can say that the old ones were killed, written off.
Not all pilots, but one might say the lion's share.
The question on everyone's mind is, will the pilot get back at the helm after captivity?
Complex issue.
What do you think?
But I think that he will sit at the helm of the plane again if he is ordered from above. Why do our pilots commit all these crimes? Because they are afraid. Our people are so intimidated. I am already talking about everyone, the army, other structures, and the civilian population. They are afraid of everything. You will be arrested for your personal opinion. A girl from Khabarovsk came out with a poster, "I love my father." 30 days, fine 30,000 rubles.
Her father?
Her father was mobilized.
Yeah.
Discrediting the army. A similar case, a girl with a blank poster was jailed and fined.
I think that the pilot will not take the helm. I will voice this for the audience. He will be considered prone to treason. They will be afraid to trust him with the helm of the plane. It is unknown what is going on in his head. Maybe, as Pashagev said, after captivity everyone is sent back to the front line, but, according to him, the evacuation takes place in a military manner. Because one who is returned from captivity is prone to betrayal. And they don't get guns anymore, so, that's my opinion.
The military does what they are told, but thinking in the army is generally prohibited. The boss thinks for them.
Here's a question that just occurred to me. If pilots, be they helicopters or airplanes, were given the opportunity to refuse to participate in combat operations without consequences, what would happen then?
They would, of course, refuse.
Really?
Of course, who needs that? If a person sits in a cockpit, he does not understand the goal at all. That is, you need to take off, launch the rocket and return. This is the only thing he understands. I also think that, of course, no one needs this, but again, they are afraid to refuse to carry out a combat order.
Fight bomber, what did he write today? Yesterday, the 23rd.
He wrote that the crew died, I was wounded, and that they were interrogating me, trying to get some information. So, relatively speaking, a prisoner of war, and I. Simply. There is pressure on me.
Well, the pressure is on in full force. The pressure is in full force. Are you in captivity?
No. Now I am in a free country.
Independent?
Nobody forced this on me. I realized this myself by talking to people. After talking with my mom, who lived here for a while, she told me that good people live here. And I used to say, yes, guys, they are people just like us. No, they are not like us. Ukrainians are somehow kinder.
How are we different?
I will tell you a case like this. When I was brought to the hospital in the first days after my arrival here, everyone thought that I was an occupant. That is, everyone thought that I was an occupant, that I was a prisoner and that I had to be treated. So, they treated me normally there, that is, they did everything well, that is, they bandaged me and gave me injections. All was good. That is, I then ask, listen, do you know who I am? Well, in general, do you know who I am? Well, we kind of thought you were an orc, this girl who was giving me medical attention.
Doctor?
Yes, maybe she will watch this video.
Girl, hello.
Yes, here she is. She said, I think you're an orc.
And you?
I started to explain to her. Firstly, she thought that I was an orc, but they still provided me with medical assistance, because everyone understands that we are essentially innocent of anything. We are hostages of the situation. So, I explained to her that I had flown to Ukraine.
And then?
She made this expression on her face and said, "Are you serious?" Well, of course, she became interested. I felt so sorry for her. She says, "What are your pilots doing? The entire Russian army. We want to live in peace. We don't want this war. We want to raise children. We want to walk in parks. We want to relax in bars, restaurants, and we want a peaceful life. How can you not understand this? What else needs to be done?"
Fight bomber writes, relatives of the crew members are in direct contact with me almost all this time. All of them are located in Russia.
So, I haven't read it, I don't know it.
This is his first post. This is a helicopter on which you arrived. And today at 3:29 p.m. he wrote a message. The relatives of the crew members were in direct contact with me almost all this time. They are all in Russia.
Not true.
Not true?
Of course I'm here.
Here he is. I know his mom is here. Also in Kiev. She's fine. How long has she been here?
Almost 6 months.
She's been here for 6 months. When did it all start?
Do you mean
Process.
the process of my flight to Ukraine or preparation?
Border crossing.
9th of August.
Have you already arrived on August 9th, when the special operation began?
The special operation began 6 months earlier.
For half a year.
I mean, I knew and understood something before that. I just wanted to change something in my life, and not just in my life, but simply, firstly, to eliminate the possibility of participating in these crimes. This was my main goal. Basically, in general, I was happy with my life at that moment. I had an apartment there, a car, that is, and so on.
What's left there?
I still have a plane and an apartment there.
Private plane?
I inherited the plane from my grandfather. Yes,
Apartment? Car?
apartment. I sold the car. The apartment and the plane remained there. But there were small things left there, some valuables, gold, rings and so on.
6 months is, roughly speaking, March.
Yes,
February, March.
yes,
How was it? Did you take the first step?
yes,
This happened after the realization came.
yes, I understood what was needed. There was a lot of talk about our system, about how to fight it, what to do with it, how to try to convince the guys. I didn't hide anything. I listened to Ukrainian music because I liked it. Although the guys told me, "What are you doing?" I like it. Why are you stopping me? There was no clear answer. Well, I kind of actively promoted my position, my side.
Mother was in Russia.
She was already in Ukraine.
Yeah. So she arrived earlier?
Yes,
Understood. I was told some details, but they cannot be published. This is 100%, so I will not even mention them. Tell me about the 9th of August.
well, until this date. It is clear that I was in contact with the main intelligence directorate, and at that time some possible outcomes, that is, flight routes, were already discussed. So, the route from Kursk turned out to be the most favorable. We had to start from Kursk because it was close in distance. And there were no other factors that would greatly impede this, my flight. That is, there were no people on board. No other people, for example, the same paratroopers or anyone else. So, basically, I assessed the situation. I remember thinking, here's an opportunity. So, I agreed on the route. In principle, the corridor for my flight was already ready. That's it, I took off and flew at an extremely low altitude, in radio silence. I flew to the specified coordinates, sat down, that is, landed. I was greeted safely. Overall, everything went well.
As far as I understand, you have been in touch with Gur all these 6 months.
There was contact for the entire 6 months.
Were you instructed or what?
They told me humanly, Max, if you decide, then do it. If you don't want to, don't do it. We don't encourage you to do anything. We are normal people here. What they tell you is not here. This is not the case here. If you want, do it.
What's next? You will be paid $500,000.
Yes,
They will provide you with documents.
yes,
This is a condition of our state program. It all works, So, contacts are known, anyone can contact us. What's next in your life?
I want to connect my life with aviation, that's 100%.
Fly?
Flights, yes, if, perhaps, I receive an offer for the purpose of, now this is my country. If you need my help, flights, transportation and something like that, on helicopters of any type, I will take part and help without any problems.
Has this kind of talk happened before?
Yes.
And what answer did you give? Positive?
I said I'd definitely think about it, but I will consider this proposal and approach it very wisely. I already agree 80%. 20% I need to improve my health a little. I need to get used to it a little, come to my senses, recover, step away from these affairs and begin a new service with renewed vigor.
What will propaganda do when this video appears? I don't know when it will come out, but there will be a reaction.
I think this will have a big resonance.
Significant resonance. What exactly?
Well, of course, there will be gossip and rumors. That I am a traitor, that I betrayed my country.
Are you a traitor?
No. Well, Traitor of what exactly? Your country? I love my country, Russia. I love it very much, it is an impeccable country. But I don't like my state, these are two different concepts. So like this. I don't want to see these people who are now sitting there in the Kremlin and have been dictating their terms to us for a long time.
Fight Bomber went on air today on the channel of one of the propagandists. The link to this video will be in the description. I have one question here. Well, essentially one question. The pilot is sitting. Here he is, he says. When he is wearing a mask and helmet, can you hear him at all?
It can only be heard over radio communications. For aircraft intercom. And if he starts talking while wearing a mask, I don't know. I've never worn such a helmet, but it will be difficult to speak. We need normal radio communication.
This is Fight Bomber, who says that he is in captivity, and his mother goes on the air of some Solovyov live. They publish this video where he comments on what is happening. They say you're lost.
Yes.
It is he.
Any pilot will immediately understand that this is not true. Maybe one of the civilians will understand.
Can a pilot get lost?
Not in this situation, but possible.
So,
this situation absolutely needs to be eliminated. But you can't fly, for example, as they said, to Poltava, a distance of 300 kilometers. This is a gross mistake. If the crew consists of 3 people, okay, one pilot did something stupid, maybe something happened to his health. Perhaps he simply does not know how to perform his duties. But there is a co-pilot who can also clearly assess the situation and say, no, something is wrong. Especially, a pilot doesn't just sit in the cockpit and think nothing. They didn't just train him and put him on a plane. He must make decisions competently, that is, assess the situation. He must see everything ahead. He can't just get lost stupidly like that. When I read this, I didn't understand anything.
in principle, this applies to all pilots.
Of course, any pilot will immediately think and doubt.
How did you fly to avoid getting hit?
Extremely low altitude, radio silence mode.
Have you turned off all appliances? When you turn off your devices, are you not visible on radar?
Visible. It is visible on radar, but when you are flying at extremely low altitude, it is difficult to detect you.
Well, the mast must be higher than you in order to. Well, ordinary physics. That is. What is extreme low altitude?
The lowest altitude in general, according to all textbooks, from 0 to 200 meters.
From 0 to 200.
This is considered an extremely low height.
How did you fly?
5, 10.
Treetops.
Yes. I was flying very low.
It's our tradition. My interlocutor, I cannot use the word prisoner of war, is calling someone. He calls his parents or his wife. But I think that in the next video he will call his mother. I think so. This will be the answer for Fight Bomber. Because he's communicating with his mother. I think the propaganda has gone a little bit wrong again. You can't talk while wearing a helmet or an oxygen mask. And today I also asked this question to other pilots, and everyone said that they simply show a pilot who turns his head, and the speech is recorded from another person. Well, basically, that's how it is. What will happen next in this war? Your analysis, your thoughts about the prospects.
Well, it's all just a matter of time. When? The fact that Ukraine has won is already 100%. Everyone probably already knows this, and even the other side knows. But why is this still? The time that will finally come has not yet come. Like this.
There was news today, it seems you read about it, about Prigozhin.
Yes.
What do you think? As a pilot, you should theoretically know the answers.
I think there will be a huge response. Because maybe you even know that Vladimir Vladimirovich immediately flew from Kursk to Moscow.
And from Moscow?
From Moscow.
To Valdai.
To Valdai.
At the time we met, there was no confirmation that Zolkin and Prigozhin were actually on board the plane. But I think there is no smoke without fire, and the plane was shot down there. He was shot down by a missile from the Panzer. I think it was revenge. Exactly 2 months have passed. After Prigozhin committed that riot. What, by the way? Besides the fact that the pilots were afraid to fly, what did they say? How might the rebellion end?
We thought and assumed what could happen, how it would all be. Everyone was watching, the whole world was watching. What will happen? In the end, I will say that they were received normally. That is...
Does the army support Prigozhin?
She, of course, supports him, but... Again, the army is afraid of not following an order when it comes from the top leadership. They seem ready to do all this, but they are still afraid. Again, everyone understands.
The fact that the pilots refused to fly into the movement zone of Prigozhin's columns is a cool topic. This means that they really understood that they would be shot down.
Yes, they understood why fire would be directed at their own troops, that is, at this unit.
Wagner attacked.
Of course, they asked the question, why shoot at them? Who are we even fighting with? Well, these are such stupid questions.
What did I forget to ask?
You still brought me back to the question. Well, in principle, all the main questions were voiced.
Well, maybe.
Forgot?
We follow the script. According to tradition, prisoners of war, the word crossed out, address their fellow soldiers.
I should have thought this through initially, yes, so that I could find the answer to this question.
There is a proposal to contact your colleagues, pilots, friends, I think. In any case, there are friends there, and I think, if you want it.
But I have already addressed my colleagues several times, that is, this was in the first interview. I probably won't get tired of talking about what's really happening. A huge disaster is happening. Any war, again. No matter how necessary a war may be, it is always a crime, and the people who push people to commit this crime, of course, must answer for everything. So, I'm a little worried. I'd like to apologize. I want to say one thing. Very beautiful country. Very kind people. And having talked there with one and the other, with the regiment commanders, everyone, as one, said that we don't want this. Well, how can you not understand? We don't want this. We only want to protect our families and liberate our territory. We don't need anything else at all. That's why I was so imbued with this. I felt so offended. So, for what is happening now. And it's also a shame that I didn't do this earlier. I should have immediately chosen a helicopter and flown to Ukraine, and forget about everything that happens there.
I hope that Maxim's example will be indicative, and this example will allow us to attract a flow of machinery and equipment and right-thinking people to Ukraine. The state program is working. $500,000 will be paid for the equipment. This money is enough not to work at all. Plus, as far as I understand, the documents will be done, and it will be possible to go either to Europe or to stay here. Well, with all the ensuing consequences. So, there are contacts, they are known, they will also be here in the comments, under this video. Pilots who came to their senses. In fact, all those who controlled tanks and self-propelled artillery units. You will receive a reward for any military equipment, so contact us. The military will provide you with a corridor, meet you, and everything will be fine with you, and you will not die uselessly, without understanding what is happening. And, in fact, you will not be war criminals, because, as Maxim says, in any case, we have already won. It is a matter of time before the matter is completed, but, as the head of the main intelligence department has repeatedly stated, all criminals will be punished regardless of where they are. That's what they say. And, by the way, they say that Prigozhin is also a little bit, maybe something like that. Thanks for the conversation. Today is Independence Day. Putin will most likely bomb because there is nothing else he can do. We are located here in the city center. I think everything is going to be all right. This will probably be the first person I shake hands with because, as a matter of principle, I don't shake hands with prisoners of war, but this is not a prisoner of war. This is the right person who stood on the side of good. Thank you.